Bolton just moments ago, senior White House advisor Kellyanne Conway and Secretary of Health and Human Services Tom Price briefing reporters on the administration's battle plans for the growing opioid crisis, as well as addressing the North Korea threat. This after a troubling new development. North Korea has successfully miniaturized a nuclear warhead. This is according to the Washington Post. That's much faster than estimated, that timeline. North Korea potentially has 60 bombs in its arsenal. The Dow did tick downward upon that news. We're watching for the open tomorrow as the markets digest this news that North Korea has the capacity to build miniaturized nuclear warheads that could fit inside its missiles. Now, Secretary of State Rex Tillerson is in Asia pressing for a unified front and more help from the region in dealing with this growing crisis, as the Trump administration just won a unanimous 15-0 vote at the UN in favor of the most punishing sanctions yet in North Korea, banning any country from buying a third of North Korea's exports. Notably, China and Russia also approved the tough new sanctions. Ambassador John Bolton joining me now. Ambassador, good to see you.
Glad to be with you.
How big of a threat is North Korea now?
It's an enormous threat, and I think history will record that if this information about their miniaturization success is accurate, it will be viewed as a very grim day in American history. I don't think it's surprising. The only people who are surprised are the same people who for 25 years in this country have said, let's negotiate with North Korea, apply a little pressure, carrots and sticks, we can change their behavior. The North Korean regime has been devoted for 25 years or more to getting deliverable nuclear weapons, and they are very close today, very close.
Yeah, your point is well taken that it's been the policy of strategic patience with presidents prior, basically kicking the can down the road. And you said this, the president is inheriting a situation where there's not much road left. So what do you think of the president's warning now that any further threats will be met with, quote, fire and fury?
Well, I think he's giving North Korea and China and Russia and everybody else a very clear signal that the military option is not just on that table that everybody talks about all the time, but it's serious. At least I hope that's what he's saying. I don't think there are many diplomatic options left here. It's certainly true that if they are to have any viability at all, the merger of the two Koreas, which I've favored, I think it's only going to come when people see that the only other option is the use of force. I just remind people when General Colin Powell stepped down as chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff during the Clinton administration, he was a private citizen. He'd go around the country giving speeches, and he liked to say when people asked him, well, what happens if North Korea uses chemical weapons against South Korea, General Powell would say, we will turn North Korea into a charcoal briquette.
Oh, well, so yeah, I hear what you're saying, but I don't know if the U.S. voters out there, you know, they're kind of scared when they hear this kind of rhetoric. I know you've heard that, too. Yeah. Now the focus...
Ask the U.S. voters this. Ask the U.S. voters this. How do you feel about you and your children living from now as far as the eye can see under the threat of nuclear attack by the likes of the Kim Jong-un regime? How does that suit you?
Yeah, I hear you. You know, China, yeah, I know what you're saying. China's foreign minister also has called Kim Jong-un bellicose, blaming Kim Jong-un for escalating this crisis to this boiling point. But the fear is that there are no back channels to de-escalate like the Kennedys used in the Cuban Missile Crisis of the 60s, which is why that unanimous UN vote is so key, a united effort. Is there a back channel? And secondly, can we shoot down a missile?
Look, to have a successful de-escalation, you have to have somebody on the other side, i.e. the North Korean regime, ready to do that. And what's true for the past 25 years is true today. They are not going to give up their nuclear weapons capability voluntarily. I'm sure it's been surprising to me they rejected in the past 24 hours the idea of talks. They might as well accept it. It just gives them more time. I think we're out of time, frankly, diplomatically. I think we've got precious few options. It's grim, but the president inherited this, and he's got to deal with it. Now, you ask a very pertinent question, can we shoot a North Korean missile down? The answer is we have some capability. But here's a lesson that the United States population has to learn urgently. Under Barack Obama, we gutted the National Missile Defense Program that President George W. Bush tried to create. It was all but defunded. Our capabilities are minimal. They are nowhere close to the layered missile defense that the Bush administration planned that would protect us against North Korea, against Iran, against others. So the country is vulnerable today. Our innocent civilian population is vulnerable today because Barack Obama did not believe in national missile defense. Let's never forget that.
Yeah, that's a 180 from Bill Clinton, who put the Patriot missile system there to deal with short-range Scud-like missiles out of North Korea, right?
Well, that's because under the 1972 Anti-Ballistic Missile Treaty, which was an element of theology for the Democratic Party, theater missile defense was okay, but national missile defense, that is to say protecting the American civilian population, was forbidden. Bush broke out of the 1972 ABM treaty and was trying to create a limited national missile defense system, not against Russia, but against the likes of the rogue states like North Korea and Iran and Iraq. And Obama just left it essentially at the level that it was at the end of the Bush administration. It's a tragedy for the United States what Obama did.
You know, Ambassador, final point. China does not want that THAAD missile system in South Korea. It feels like it's a spying apparatus. That's an anti-missile system that the U.S. is deploying in South Korea. Is that a bargaining chip with China saying, you stop Kim Jong-un and we will pull out that THAAD system?
I wouldn't give that up. I don't think the South Koreans, even the new Moon administration, want to see that gone, because the threat is not just from North Korea. I think the threat coming from China is very real as well. I think the Chinese have got to make a very tough decision, which is whether they're going to do the only thing that's really going to end this crisis and bring the regime in North Korea down. I think reuniting the two Koreas is the way to go. But China has sustained the North Korean regime. China has provided them technology on ballistic missiles and nuclear weapons over the years. China is responsible for this ugly piece of baggage, and they have done nothing to help out in the past 25 years.